Listen, let's do our studs and duds, Wes. Studs and duds, as you guys know, people that we think are going to exceed expectations and people that we think are going to disappoint you in week 9 of fantasy football. I'm excited to share my stud. Let me clear my throat for a moment.
Which is for, while you do that, we don't know each other's studs and duds. This will be our real-time first blush reaction to see if we line up 4th and Joel double down or if these are 2, 4, maybe, total different people.
Yep, definitely. Listen, my stud for, what are we in, week 9? I don't know why I just forgot that. My stud for week 9 is Darrell Henderson Jr. Now listen, I think this Rams offense with potentially no Matthew Stafford is going to have to lean on the run game pretty heavily. I don't know how much Brett Rippon is going to be able to do here in the passing game against the Packers. But the Packers are allowing the 6th most fantasy points to running backs this season. And they actually gave the Minnesota Vikings their first rushing touchdown of the year last week. Henderson has been very involved in this Rams offense since he got a call from his couch, apparently, just being like, hey, it's time. Come back out of, your home and join us on the football field. And he's gotten 35 touches over the last 2 weeks. He seems to be having the trust of one Sean McVay in this offense. If they do not have Matthew Stafford, I think Darrell Henderson is going to be a very solid option. And even if they do have Matthew Stafford, I think he can still be a mid to high-end RB2 this week for your fantasy football team. I've got him in some lineups. It's not necessarily by choice. I have some people on bye weeks and some people on IR. But I'm not worried playing Darrell Henderson this week. I think he actually has a very good opportunity, really good matchup here. I know Royce Freeman had the touchdown last week against the Dallas Cowboys, but Darrell Henderson does seem to be the PPR running back on this team. And just before Royce Freeman did score that touchdown, Darrell Henderson also had a goal line carry, just in which he did not score on against the Dallas Cowboys defense. So I'm looking forward to playing Darrell Henderson this week. I think he's going to be a really solid play in fantasy, a high-end RB2. He is my stud for week 9.
Fair enough. I'll bite on that because it is a different. It's going to be a different quarterback under center. Just for fun, Brett Rippon was in place of Russell Wilson last year for the Denver Broncos when Russ missed some time, and there was immediate controversy.
Right.
Immediate controversy because he actually looked fine, and last year Russ looked terrible. So
yeah.
He's going to do well enough to kind of help the Rams stay in that game no matter what's going on. But yeah, I mean, it's also the situation. We've got some high powered running backs on a bye week for week 9. We've got CMC, Travis Etienne, Jahmyr Gibbs coming off his monster Monday night game, and then. Speaking of Broncos, maybe if you're feeling good about the way Javonte Williams played against the Chiefs, you don't have him again this week. So you can certainly do a whole lot worse. Like, I would have rather started Darrell Henderson than Tajay Spears if I had that opportunity. It's too late now to make that decision, obviously. But, yeah, I mean, Henderson may have an opportunity to punch one into the end zone. Yeah, okay. Yeah. We'll see what happens. Do you know what his projection is?
I believe he is around 12 points. Around 12 points. So I think if 60 and a touchdown, I think he'll do a little more than that there. The Packers are bad. The Packers are real bad.
They're not great. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
he can get a couple catches too. He'll get closer to 15.
Yeah, I think he'll land around the 15. Yeah. Yeah, I think he'll land around the 15-point mark there. So I think you'll be happy if you played Darrell Henderson this week. So Wes, hit me with your stud for week 9 before we talk about some poopy guys.
I genuinely thought we were going to double down on this stud. But that gives me the confidence that we both are going to agree on this. My stud for this week is going to be RHAMONDRE Stevenson. This feels like a RHAMONDRE Stevenson show at times, but let's just double down on this, baby, because it's pretty straightforward. I know we believe in him. We've been talking about his name a lot. Maybe there's some preseason bias thinking that he was going to be a top 10 running back, and we see how how efficient he is, but let's just go over the obvious. No Montez Sweat, no Chase Young, no problem. It's going to be great. I got some fun numbers here about how much of a contribution Montez Sweat and Chase Young were to the Commanders, because it then just adds some context, some head-scratching statistics like why did they get rid of not just one of them, but both of them? So Sweat and Young were top 2 on the Commanders for sacks. They were their sack leaders. They were top 2 in quarterback hits for the Commanders. Top 2 in tackles for a loss, which is the biggest one I'm going to mention here in a second. And Montez Sweat led the team in forced fumbles. Now, they were 8th in tackles for a loss heading into this week with 42 on the season. 8th in the league, 42 total tackles for a loss, which is great. Montez Sweat is 2nd in the NFL with 10 tackles for a loss. Chase Young has 6, and together they contributed to almost half of their total tackles for a loss. You take away what they've done, they are by far dead last. Dead last in tackles for a loss. Mm-hmm. Their combined D-line, the starting D lineman for the Commanders for tackles for a loss is, let me do the math again, 16. Just as many as Chase Young and Montez Sweat have together.
Yeah.
One more fun thing. Their leading tackler is a strong safety, Cameron Curl. That doesn't say a whole lot for the defense if your strong safety is leading the team in tackles. So just a little, we're going old school here, giving some defensive statistics as to why you can start Rhamondre Stevenson in the midst of these heavy running back bye weeks. Even if you don't have a running back on a bye week, I think Stevenson should be rolled out because you can at least give this an opportunity to call it now or never for Rhamondre. Because after this, it is a sweet, juicy schedule for this guy. So if he can't do it with this, trade him, I guess. Yeah. He's my stud for this week.
I love it. I love it a lot. I think this is going to be a fantastic play, and I actually think that Rhamondre Stevenson and Ezekiel Elliott both could have very solid weeks as this kind of tandem backfield here.
Oh, sorry. I was just agreeing with you.
I was like,
I was pointing.
Go.
No, I was just, because you were saying Ezekiel Elliott, I was just going to say that's someone that I would throw in. I would throw in it as a desperate flex. Zeke is going to, I think Zeke's going to find the end zone this week too.
I do too, and I think this is a game that, listen, the Patriots offense has been playing better than they were at the beginning of the year, and against a poor Washington defense, I think the Patriots could be up in this game. I think they could be running the ball a lot. I think they're going to do a good job here getting Rhamondre the ball, getting one of their best playmakers the ball, and we'll watch out for Pop Douglas as well. It's going to be a fun time watching that offense, seeing what they might have in Demario Douglas. So good stuff to come there. I'm going to hit you with a dud, and I alluded to it a little bit during the news, but Marquise Brown is a dud in Week 9. Listen. Maybe this week, a wide receiver versus the Cleveland Browns that I claim to be a dud actually will be a dud. Because last week, that surely was not the case with Tyler Lockett. But Marquise Brown is going to be a dud this season. This week. Clayton Tune, or they signed Jeff Driscoll to the active roster. I believe one of the two of those guys are going to be starting at quarterback against the Cleveland Browns. If for no other reason than I think they might look at Kyler and go, "You want to come back for Cleveland?" And go, "No, I'll pass. I'll wait out Cleveland. I'll wait out for a better matchup here." Like I said last week, the Browns allow the fewest points to fantasy wide receivers. They're a fantastic defense. They are arguably the best defense in the league. I just do not trust either Jeff Driscoll or Clayton Tune, or potentially even if it is Kyler Murray to get Marquise Brown the football enough for him to be a difference maker in this game against Cleveland. He has one game over 65 receiving yards this season. It's not fantastic, but I do believe whenever Kyler Murray returns, he will be a good option. If you're in a situation where you need some help at the wide receiver spot, maybe after this week it's a buy low situation on Marquise Brown. Whenever Kyler returns, they should have that best friend syndrome going on. should be back into a good spot there. But for Week 9, Marquise Brown is a dud.
I'm going to put Marquise Brown in my starting lineup real quick because that's how it goes here on 4th and
Right,
Troll.
exactly.
Duds seem to just boom. So, done.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. That's exactly how
but
it
it's I mean, Tyler Lockett, if Kyler Murray does happen to start, I would consider it, but no, I'm not going to count on Clayton Tune against the Cleveland Browns defense to help me get Marquise Brown into the end zone and is 70 yards. That just doesn't seem likely. So, yeah, it feels like a pretty easy dud and quick bench for the Week 9. Fair enough. 100%. Good call.
Yeah, I'm counting on Clayton Tune's post-game press conference for the first question. He just answers blue. And then they're like, what? And he's like, sorry, I remembered the color of the sky because I was looking at it a lot on my back. And Myles Garrett was screaming at me. Should I have explained the joke or should I just let it ride? I feel like
well, when you said blue at first, I thought you were just like calling him dumb. And I was like, okay, that's kind of rude. But then you made
that's mean.
And then and then you got it. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's clever. I get it. I get what you're doing. All right, I'm gonna
because he's looking at the sky so much because he's getting sacked all the time. You get it?
Did you get it? It's funny. Okay, so
right,
I'm gonna hit you with my dud for Week 9 here. Also, kind of aforementioned in our news segment about a running back that is likely not going to play. I'm going to say Devin Singletary is a dud for the week. And it's the Texans' offense is just not going to get it done on the ground game. They have not done this on the ground game. I really shouldn't be saying this because you're starting Devin Singletary against me in one of our leagues, Noah, and I might convince you to start
I was going to do your same joke, but then I just realized that I already have him in the lineup. So
you actually do that, yeah. So here's the deal. Singletary 67th in the NFL for yards per carry. Okay. He has a 77% catch rate, which is 76th of all running backs alone. Texans are 25th in rushing yards, and they're playing the Bucs, who have allowed the 24th most points to running backs, or in other words, they've allowed the 8th fewest. And on top of that, Vita Vea is back. So I know Dameon Pierce is out, but Dameon Pierce wasn't even a starting running back for fantasy right now. So I just don't think you should start him. And I mean, I was hesitant because it was like I was gonna give suggestions, but that's what you are going to do. That's what you need. You need suggestions to beat me this week in our game. But I will say I would start Ezekiel Elliott over Devin Singletary. I would start Darrell Henderson over Devin Singletary. There are a number of other running backs I would slot in. Kareem Hunt, even if Jerome Ford is back. It's not the move.
What about Jerick McKinnon or Kenneth Gainwell or Josh Kelly or Chase Edmonds? Or I feel like I'm making a mistake with starting Devin Singletary now. But I'm in a situation where I'm kind of screwed. Like I don't really have an option.
Yeah.
My running back spot in this league has not been fantastic. Did I do something unfortunate? I thought I had. Oh no, my running backs really are just this bad in this league.
I'm gonna go pick them up.
No, my running backs really are just this bad in this league. For some, I got confused and I thought I had Kyren Williams in this league, but I do not. Yeah, my options are Devin Singletary, Roschon Johnson versus the Saints, Amari DiMercado versus the Browns, and he hasn't practiced for 2 days. Miles Sanders,
Roschon. I would take a shot on Roschon Johnson. You know why? Because in doing the research on the Commanders for tackles for loss, Saints are worst in tackles for loss on the season.
Yeah. 4 targets was nice to see last week in his first game back. We'll see what happens here.
Me because of this? I want you to subscribe.
Yeah, okay. Listen, I'm not excited about starting Devin Singletary, but I think I'm probably going to have to stick with him. I think I don't like the Texans' run game, but I think if he is a running back that is going to be guaranteed touches, have the RB1 spot at least for the week, I think I have to. But I am with you, Wes. I'm not excited about this play. So
right,
tune in on Tuesday to see what happened, because we'll
see what he decides.
You and I go up against each other in a couple leagues this week, actually. So it'll be
very
interesting.
Fun.
We'll have to see what happens. But yeah, Devin Singletary, I'm not thrilled about. So definitely a dud candidate for sure. I'm hoping he just falls into the end zone. That's my hope.